Nigerian government and World Trade Organization reacts to U.S. rejection of Okonjo-Iweala's adoption by a selection panel.
Candidate, as recommended by Chairman Walker, is Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala of Nigeria.
Troops eliminate 22 terrorists and recover arms in Damboa, Borno State.
And conflict management experts engage youths on peace building across the country.
Try as much as possible to preach peace.
And on Good Morning Nigeria today, we shall focus on First Ladies against breast cancer.
It will not be out of place to say that finally we are breathing a sigh of relief from the devastation and uncertainty trailing post-End SARS protest events. But can we really breathe a sigh of relief from certain conditions that have over the years caused many people to stop breathing?
Well, Claire, as the saying goes, cancer is a journey that the sufferer undertakes alone. And getting relief from it will depend on the choices made, and those decisions would include the destination and path or route taken to reach the destination.
Very philosophical indeed, Kingsley, but with cancer, and there are myriads of them depending on, of course, which organ they invade, the delusion is that it always would end in one destination, grave. But we now know that it's not always the case, and as Kingsley said earlier, with breast cancer, there can't be life after. The prerequisite, however, is early detection.
Absolutely, Claire, and that has been the advocacy among interest groups. Breast cancer is the most prevalent and virulent of cancer cases. In Nigeria, women at risk of breast cancer are said to have increased steadily from 24.5 million in 1990 to 40 million in 2010, with a projected rise to about 50 million this year, that is to say 2020. Now, breast cancer accounts for 12% of all new cancer cases and 25% of cancers in Nigerian women.
Now, the thematic focus of various advocacies on breast cancer have been on prevention. That is, women are advised to undertake routine self-examination of the breast and also abstain from unhealthy lifestyles. But for early-stage breast cancer, surgery is considered a primary treatment. Regardless, the financial implication is very huge. So it is in this regard that health experts and indeed other non-state groups are collaborating to raise the bar of awareness advocacy and also to engender a support base for breast cancer patients. Hello and welcome to another edition of Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. I am Claire Adilabu Abdulrazak. Thank you for joining us.
Now, the month of October every year is dedicated to the purpose of our conversation this morning, which is on breast cancer awareness. Breast cancer may be common with women. We've learned that men too can have it. But I should add that that is a rare occurrence. Beyond that, what is the global concern now about breast cancer? And what are the issues in the conversation? And Kingsley Osadolo, I join my colleague Claire to also welcome you to the program. Good Morning Nigeria is broadcast live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority, and we are here in our Abuja studios.
And again, I should also add that our conversation on breast cancer awareness this morning will be driven by First Ladies of Nigeria, represented on the program today by the First Ladies of Kebbi, Niger, and Cross Rivers. We will also, of course, have with us here in the studios oncologist and a survivor to share her story. Now, the program will be spiced up with the complimentary segments, but let's join Abdul Malik Adio, who is beaming with unusual smiles for the head about Kingsley. You know, if our population is said to be 200 million, I can authoritatively tell you that as of today, someone here has raised the bar to 201. And that will be Abdul Malik.
201 million?
Million, yes.
201 million? Sorry, Abdul Malik, you had 1 million or something in addition?
By one. I said by one.
It said to now 201 million.
So we are now 201 million.
No.
Yes.
Will be 200 million and one.
Oh,
did you study arithmetic?
Forget
not
me.
mathematics.
That's why I'm here. Forget me.
Abdul Malik, congratulations. Let's have the highlights of the morning news with you.
What did you say?
This is interesting.
Mr. President said the youth of this country have spoken, and he has heard.
The candidate from Nigeria, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, has secured the support of majority of the member countries, but is yet to be declared and returned the winner. A statement by the ministry spokesperson, Ferdinand Nwoye, said this is because, apart from winning the election, all 164 member states of the WTO were expected to adopt the winner by consensus in accordance with the rule of procedure of the WTO. It is important, therefore, to highlight that Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala has secured cross-regional backing, with only the United States opposing the consensus. Now, the ministry wishes to further inform that a meeting of the General Council of the WTO has been scheduled for the 9th November 2020 for the final decision of the election process. Now, the statement further said Nigeria will continue to engage relevant stakeholders to ensure that the lofty aspiration of our candidate to lead the WTO organization is realized. Now, the World Trade Organization has officially reacted to the rejection of Nigerian Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala's adoption as candidate by the 2020 Director General Selection Panel.
Candidate, as recommended by Chairman Walker, is Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala of Nigeria. There will be a General Council meeting held on the 9th of November, at which we hope to take a decision on this very important matter.
Now, stakeholders in conflict management are beginning to engage youth on how to entrench peace in the country. Now, Global Peace Foundation Nigeria took the message to representatives of youth organizations in Gariki, Abuja, where they advised them to give peace a chance.
You young men will appeal to your colleagues, telling them that, look, yes, what the police were doing was not good. Those who hold those grains didn't do it well. But all of us will not be mad at the same time.
Try as much as possible to preach peace, to ensure that we talk to one another, we talk to people that are not here when we go out there, tell them that we need to love one another. We cannot continue the way we are going.
You've said all your grievances. and the government has noted that. So you keep your fingers crossed and be watching.
Now, troops of Operation Fireball under the Operation Lafia Dole, with support from the Air Task Force, have killed 22 terrorists in a counterattack in Damboa, Borno State. Now, a statement by the Acting Director Defense Media Operations, Brigadier General Bernard, indicates that the terrorists met their Waterloo when they attacked a fortified Nigerian Army super camp in Damboa. Brigadier General Bernard notes that 2 gun trucks were destroyed by own troops, while 1 NSV anti-aircraft, 2 rocket-propelled grenade tubes, and 4 PKT machine guns and other arms were recovered from the joint operation. Now, the Nigerian Center for Disease Control, NCDC, has announced 150 new cases of COVID-19 in Nigeria. Now, the latest figures brings the total number of confirmed cases to 62,521 infections in the country. A breakdown of the new cases from 9 states of the Federation indicates that Lagos recorded the highest number for the day with 89 new cases, while Rivers State has 19 new cases. Others are Ogun with 11, Bayelsa 9, Kaduna and Plateau State recorded 8 new cases each, while Taraba State recording 3 new cases and Osun recorded 2 new cases. The day's tally is completed by Delta State recording 1 new case. Confirmed cases by state, Lagos tops the chart with 21,106, followed by the Federal Capital Territory with 6,028, and Plateau State comes in third with 3,630 cases. With the latest development, total number of active cases stands at 3,131, while 58,249 cases have been successfully treated and discharged, while 1,141 patients died unfortunately. And that's the news. Good Morning Nigeria continues with Kingsley and Claire after the break.
Our newspaper reviewer, Bayo Toby, is with us in the studios. Bayo, good morning and welcome.
Thank you, Kingsley. Good morning. Good morning, Claire.
Bayo, good morning. I love your cap, royal blue.
Thank you.
What do you feel like this morning?
Excited.
Okay.
Yes, because I'm looking forward to the weekend.
Kingsley, should I start off with the punch?
Yes, please.
Okay, so let's get on with the punch. And the lead story says, policemen killings. IG begins command tour. Force admits cops morale low. And it comes with 2 riders there. 28 officers killed in Lagos, Abia, Rivers, Oyo, Anambra, 4 states in 1 week. We won't return to duty, respond to distress calls, aggrieved policemen threaten. And of course, yesterday was Idil Maulud. And here at the Kaduna Township Stadium in Kaduna, we'll see a crowd of Muslim worshippers there. Of course, that's the picture story you're seeing. Now, trending stories, FCT shut 3 isolation centers as COVID-19 infections drop. That's on page 8. Now, police will deal with thugs hired for anti-military protest. Zulum, that's on page 7. And 17 charged with incitement as Niger bans protests on page 7. Enugu truck rams into school bus, kills 21, injures scores. And 4 vigilantes, others killed as bandits attack casino community. Ganduje appoints sacked commissioner chairman gas pipeline project panel. Let me take you back to above the nameplate. Power generation hits all-time peak of 5,000 megawatts. That's from TCN. Now, Idil Maulud, governors, ACF orders call for patience and unity. Now, rice millers to shut down plants over looting. That's on page 19. And just beside the nameplate, hoodlums looted our office, stole PPEs, says World Health Organization. And just beneath that, WTO will ensure Okonjo-Iweala emerges victorious, says FG. Kingsley.
Right. We also have a Nigerian pilot. Nigerian pilot says, Presidency rejects Amnesty International report on Lekki shootings. It has NSAS probe, NHRC, that's the National Human Rights Commission, receives 1,700 petitions against police officers. That's page 5. And the latest story says 28 perish in 2 bloody accidents in 2 states take away cherished lives. Reckless driving resulted in auto crash, claims 21 kids, others in Enugu. And 7 travelers die in another accident in Jigawa. Overspeeding and dangerous driving responsible for accidents. You see the photographs there from the various accident spots, according to the Nigerian pilot. Soldiers fired blank bullets at Lekki protesters, and that's attributed to an ex-army spokesman. Details on page 6. Lack of infrastructure, bane of e-learning in Nigeria, according to the NUC. Soldiers killed 20 terrorists in repel attack at Damboa. NCC remits 344.17 billion naira to federal government's consolidated revenue fund in 5 years. And we always promote peace with host communities, according to Mieti Allah, telling Ndigbo. Details on page 9. There will be no Nigeria in 5 years if we don't tackle social media, according to Desmond Elliott. That's page 9. WTO, that's the kicker, and positive despite U.S. opposition, says Okonjo-Iweala. Page 5. Bio.
Thank you, Kinsley. Well, let's start with the running story about the World Trade Organization. The federal government says that it's committed itself to the emergence of Nigeria's nominee, Dr. Okonjo-Iweala, as the Director General of World Trade Organization. Foreign Affairs Ministry says Nigeria will continue to engage stakeholders on this issue. And it will be recalled that Dr. Okonjo-Iweala garnered 163 votes out of the 164 member nations of the world. The United States says it is backing Yoo Moon-hee to head the World Trade Organization because the agency must be led by someone with what he described as real hands-on experience. The statement from the U.S. Trade representative says Minister Yoo has 25 years career as a successful trade negotiator and trade policy matters. Therefore, he is very qualified. Dr. Okonjo-Iweala has already tweeted, and he says, happy for the success and the continued progress in our into the DG bid. Very humbled to be declared candidate with broader support among members, most likely to attain consensus. We move to the next step on November 9th. Now, the World Trade Organization works by consensus. Everybody has to agree on the basis of the Director General. But as it is now, the practice of the Council is also what is described as a breadth of support. Okonjo-Iweala has a breadth of 163 supports out of the 164 members. It is overwhelming. But in the event the consensus fails and they insist on consensus, it means the tenure of the DG will be shared between the 2 candidates. And it has happened like that before. So certainly, Dr. Okonjo-Iweala will be DG World Trade Organization. It is either for the full term or for half of the term to be shared between the 2 lead candidates.
You know, amazingly, there have been quite a number of discussions, on the social media again, as to why U.S., is rejecting Okonjo-Iweala's, candidature. And I'm wondering, and again, why is the final decision, shifted to November 9?
Well,
which would mean that U.S. would have 6th. Conducted its higher election.
Yes, November 6th. Now they have moved it to November 9th. You should know also that the United States is worried about World Trade Organization. It has its reservations about China dominating World Trade Organization and becoming preeminent in world trade, and that is giving them a worry. Don't also forget that the same United States was against the confirmation of Akinwumi Adesina at the African Development Bank.
Does that also have to do with any China?
Well, at that time, there was some so-called alleged petitions about some impropriety, but that was clear. But this one, it is because of the apparent war about the World Trade Organization, and United States feels that it is not getting what it ought to obtain from the activities of World Trade Organization. But let's see, consensus, if consensus fails, the bilateral, by the way of a breach of support majority, which is overwhelming, 163 to 1.
Yeah, I expressed my views on this yesterday when we first had the issue, so there's nothing new now to say.
But just that the federal government has really come out with an official statement on the matter, of course.
Nigeria will support it.
Yes, of course, as we heard this morning, it says that they will go all out to ensure, give the necessary backing to not just Nigeria's candidate, but Africa's candidate, and indeed cross-regional candidates.
Even Europe, Asia.
Yes.
Including Asia.
Yes.
Anyway, there has been some data that has been provided about the casualty situation from the NSAS protests, and is very, very also taking a very devastating toll on the Nigerian police. About 477 suspects have been arrested by the police across the nation. In Anambra, 4 policemen were killed and 11 stations burned. In Oyo, 6 policemen were killed, 5 stations burned. In Lagos, 6 policemen were killed, 22 stations were burned. 37 police vehicles were also burned. As an aftermath of that, yesterday at Lagos, commuters gathered at BRT bus stations, and sadly, there were few BRT buses to convey them because they had burned about 82. The Inspector General of Police is expected to commence what has been described as a moral boosting visit. Already, the police are already commenting that 28 policemen have been killed since the NSA protests and riots looting started. Punch reports that a high level of dejection has been noticed among the police, and they are saying that they will not resume until the killing of their colleagues by NSA rioters are addressed. Our policemen are not happy that Nigerians are not concerned about killing of policemen. Police is blamed for almost all problems in the country. All sectors have their bad eggs. We are not happy with the atrocities of SARS. Not all policemen are SARS.
Yeah, well, it's quite unfortunate indeed, and our hearts also, go out to the victims, especially our policemen. We do hope that this will pass over quickly, and as it is gradually passing over. But I'd like to thank you. There are other stories we could have talked about, but we really don't have much time. Thank you, Bayo. I know you're expecting a good weekend, so go and have it.
Yes, I'll have it. Thank you.
All right, Kingsley.
All right, it's Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. We take a short break now. You're watching Good Morning Nigeria still on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. Now, to kickstart our conversation, which is on First Ladies Against Breast Cancer, let's listen into this background report put together by our correspondent, Abdul Salam Jibril. And just to add that viewers' discretion is advised, as you may find some of the pictures disturbing.
The month of October each year is commemorated as Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and the campaign is to increase awareness on breast cancer around the world. Breast cancer is the most diagnosed cancer in women worldwide, and statistics show that cases of breast cancer continues to rise annually. Available data from the World Health Organization (WHO) reveals that breast cancer deaths in Nigeria reached 15,790 in 2018, ranking the country 4th in the world with the highest number of deaths related to the disease. The WHO identified late detection as one of the leading causes of deaths among cancer victims and ranked breast cancer as the 14th leading cause of deaths in the country. Towards changing this, the wives of some state governors in Nigeria, who are regarded as first ladies in their states, came together in 2017, and their coming together gave birth to the First Ladies Against Cancer (FLAC), a coalition of non-governmental organizations run by former and current first ladies to work within the cancer space. The First Ladies seek to use their influence to ensure government's dedicated funding to the screening and treatment of cancer in Nigeria. Towards effectively managing an early detection of breast cancer, how has the First Lady fared so far? What steps are being taken to reduce the prevalence rate of the disease in Nigeria? Guests on Good Morning Nigeria will provide answers to these and more shortly.
A very big thank you to Abdul Salam Jubreh for that package. So let's escalate our conversation this morning, and let me welcome the wives of some of the states governors representing the First Ladies of Nigeria here on the program today, who, of course, as First Ladies in themselves in their various states, are champions in the fight against breast cancer. Joining us via Zoom from Birin Kebbi, capital of Kebbi State, is Her Excellency Dr. Zainab Shinkafi Bergudu, who is the founder and Chief Executive Officer, Medicaid Cancer Foundation, and wife of Kebbi State Governor. Excellency, thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Nice to be here. Morning. Good to see you.
All right. We also have joining us via Zoom from Mina, Niger State, Her Excellency Dr. Amina Abubakar Bello. She's founder, Raise Foundation, and wife of the Niger State Governor. Your Excellency, we're also glad to have you with us this morning.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
And all the way from Calabar, also joining us via Zoom, that's Cross River State, Her Excellency Dr. Linda Ben Ayade, wife of Cross River State Governor and founder, Mediatrix Development Foundation. Your Excellency, it's our pleasure to have you with us this morning. Thank you.
Yeah, good morning. It's my pleasure to be here.
All right, I'm back to the studio. Kingsley, you've got the next section.
All right, with us here in the studios, would like to welcome our regular guests on cancer issues, Dr. Bello Abubakar Mohammed. He's President, African Organization for Research and Training in Cancer, and he is also the Chief Consultant and Clinical and Radiation Oncologist at the National Hospital here in Abuja. Dr. Bello, pleasure to have you again on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you for having me. Good morning, Nigerians.
Okay. Also here is Gloria Orji. Gloria Orji is President, Abuja Breast Cancer Support Group, and also President, Network of People Impacted by Cancer in Nigeria. Gloria, delight to have you with us.
It's my pleasure being here. Thank you so much.
All right. Claire?
Yes, so let's start with you, Gloria. How has life been for you? You have been impacted by breast cancer. How has it been for you? Share with us.
I'll say it has been up and down, but through it all, the grace to overcome is always there. So it's like a challenge that you keep on dealing with. And as the president of my group, you're not just dealing with yourself, you're also dealing with others in the group who are impacted by cancer. And we try as much as we do to, boost our morale. Because the general thing we know most people think about cancer is death. When you have cancer, you are dying. And then with that in your mind, or in most people's mind, you find out that it's already inimical to care, because there is always this weighing resources of somebody that is going to die anyway against, pay the school fees, feed, So it's always there, and it is a huge challenge. And that is what we want to change, that cancer is not a death sentence, and that having cancer, the cancer patient has a chance to live. I was diagnosed in 2010, and I am still here by the grace of God.
What was your disposition? We understand that the first 5 years of diagnosis is very, very critical. What was your disposition during that period?
The fear of recurrence doesn't go away. It's always there. But when personally I learned to live day by day, when I wake up in the morning and I am good, I'm grateful, I go out, do my thing normally. So I don't want to say, cancer may come tomorrow, then let me stop today. No. I go ahead no matter what, as far as I have the strength to do what I need to do and run my normal life and be happy, I am good to go.
So where did you get the strength from? Because that's always a problem. Sorry, Kingsley. Yes.
Divine. I'll use that word. I got it from God. I also got it from my fellow champions. We call ourselves champion. If you're diagnosed with cancer, if you're a survivor, we all call ourselves champions. Because together, when the fears come, of course it does, we talk to ourselves. And because what the other person is saying impacts you in some ways, you kind of become more relaxed. You're able to accept. You're able to have hope. You're able to have that courage to continue moving on, telling yourself it is not over. That is it.
All right, Gloria, thank you. We'll return to you in the course of the conversation. Let's go over now to Kebbi State, where we will introduce Dr. Zainab Shinkafi Bagudu, who is the First Lady of Kebbi. Now, Your Excellency, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I know that on Good Morning Nigeria we've hosted youths in the past. Just tell us, what are the milestones year on year? Are you observing or making any improvement with regard to the level of awareness of breast cancer, and therefore what is required to be done by persons who may either be at risk or who already have the cancer?
Thank you for that. Definitely, there's a lot more awareness in Nigeria as a country. We've come very far from where we are. So many people in the month of October have different events from the different organizations, not just between my sisters, the First Ladies, and I. You find that it's almost impossible for you to find a space in the month to host an event, or even you're running from one event to the other. So this on its own tells you that there's a lot more being created and people are more aware. Also, the numbers of patients that we get coming to us seeking for help has gone up tremendously. If you come to the continuum, if you look at the rest of the continuum of care, the cases being diagnosed, I'm sure Dr. Bello can tell us a bit more about that later on as an oncologist. We're picking them up earlier. And so this means that people know about it, the earlier symptoms, and they're coming to the hospital to seek for assistance earlier. On the side of the government and policymakers, there have been tremendous steps in the last, I'd say, even 1 year or 6 months. Just 2 weeks ago, we were inaugurated onto the National Cancer Control Plan. Again, Dr. Bello is on that committee, as well as the Cancer Health Fund, which is a unique health fund that the federal government has set aside in this year's budget, about 730 million naira, to care for indigent cancer patients. So this is the first time we're having something like this in Nigeria, and this is a great, great step forward.
All right, thank you very much. Let's also bring in the First Lady of Niger State, Her Excellency Dr. Amina Abubakar Bello. Dr. Bello, you listened to your sister from Kebbi State telling us about the impact of the awareness campaign year on year. What has been the experience in Niger? Experience has been in Niger. Could you also indicate where you are now seeing increased cases of awareness, in urban or in rural areas?
Well, thank you for the question. I think I would reiterate what she said. There is definitely a significant improvement in awareness. Speaking from my own experience in Niger State, in the urban areas especially, you have more awareness because people now walk. We have the foundation. My foundation has a screening center that was inaugurated in 2016. And every year during the Breast Cancer Awareness Month, the women walk into the center in more numbers than usual. Now we have recorded almost 100%, I would say, increase in the number of women who have come into our center between last year and this year. And that is as a result of the increased awareness that we have been recording based on the awareness campaigns and sensitization messages that we have been giving. Now, in regard to the awareness in rural areas. We still have a little bit of a gap there, but even that, you still have some awareness because you have people coming in to the state capital based on the information that they are getting on the radio, on the kind of work that the foundation is doing in Niger. So you have women coming from rural areas to access the services that Race Foundation is providing within the screening center. So we believe that that has increased awareness, and so many women are now accessing services and care for cancer earlier than they would have previously.
All right, thank you, Dr. Amina Abubakar Bello. We'll return to you presently. Let's go to Calabar and bring in Dr. Linda Ben-Ayade's also perspective. Dr. Linda Ayade, let's try and do some prevalence profiling now. In the background report that our correspondent did, he did say that Nigeria is the 4th most impacted in terms of breast cancer. And in other climes, we understand that the survival rate is above 90%, while ours is very low. I don't know what percentage. But from your interactions, is awareness also a problem for you in Cross River State?
Yes, thank you very much. And you have said it right. The survival rate in Nigeria is quite low. And I would add my word and say that, yes, awareness has been a big issue. Awareness, and I think because of the system we have, we don't have a well-coordinated health system. So most times when people come down with health issues, they really don't even know where to start. I'm saying this from my own experience in Cross River State. I noticed that first, they don't even know who to run to. They don't even know who to confide in to begin to educate them or something. We, in my foundation, we have been heightening awareness, advocacy. Before now, years before now, we go through the media. A lot of the activities we used to carry out, I noticed that it was always around the urban areas alone, the state capital, because that's where the concentration of the people involved in the drive are. But recently, I just thought to myself, because when you go to the hospitals, you go to the teaching hospital in Calabar, most times when the women come from the rural areas, you see that they have come at a very late stage. Mm-hmm. So I decided that I think we should rather concentrate in the rural areas. So within the last few weeks, my foundation, Mediatrice Development Foundation, we heightened our awareness. We have done a lot. I have another foundation purely for women. I call it Cross River Women Emancipation Initiative. And this has representation in every ward in the state, across the 3 senatorial districts. So I decided to leverage on that. I went through them. This, like I said, is purely women. That foundation is just for the economic and political emancipation of women. But I decided to now co-opt it in and go through that channel to see that we broaden the awareness. We have done a lot within the last few weeks, and you will be shocked at the findings. We found that a lot of women, they have these breast lesions and they are just there. First, they will tell you they are sick, but they don't even want to tell you that it's their breast. And there's this, I think I might call it like a mastectophobia or something. There's this phobia of mastectomies. They just tell them, once they confide in their fellow woman, they tell them, if you go to hospital, they're going to remove your breast. They don't want to hear that. So they decide not to show up at all. Mm-hmm. And we have traditional healers at home. So they go to the traditional healers, and the traditional healers, yes, they are good, they heal wounds and all of that, but they don't even have knowledge of cancer. They don't even know that this thing is eating deep. And so by the time these women come forward, it's a sorry. It's a story. And like I said, within the last few weeks, we have heightened our awareness in the rural areas. So I went through those channels. I did a lot of campaign, or, in the rural villages, we have to use the town criers. We had to use the women platform, invite them. They had reached out to a lot of women. For instance, I will give you an example. One of the local governments, 998 women came out for screening for just a physical examination. Because I asked them, if you think you have any problem, if you are suspecting anything with your breast, just show up at the primary healthcare center. So I was partnering with the Primary Healthcare Development Agency, partnering with the Ministry of Health to prepare all of this on ground, just to give them the confidence. So local government only, within these last few weeks in October, we had 998 women come out. And out of these 998 women, you will see visually, clinically clear that 3 of them, if they are really gory sites, you see, this is what they have been living with. And they have never showed up at a health center with those lesions. So it's quite alarming. These are the ones who came out. You understand? It really scares me. If you ask my sisters, I used to be scared about it because I don't want to start something that I won't be able to finish. So I don't want to start with them and then hang them somewhere. So, but at least there's a lot of support now. There's some bit of confidence, and I have partnered with more people now. So I have the confidence also to go out there because I know that as I bring them out, at least we can lead them to a certain extent and let them know that, look, you have people who can support you, because they used to feel so alone. So that is it. The awareness is just the key, because most of these women, if they show up early, the story will be different. Well, like I said, the findings we have right now, many of them are at late stages. It's the case, and that is it. And we just have to do our best, continue to sing it out. And the setting that we have here requires that we do more work in the rural areas, I think.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Linda Ben-Ayade. That's the First Lady of Cross River. I will return to you in the course of the conversation. Now, let's bring in the oncologist in our midst, Dr. Bello Mohammed, to give us its own insight into this whole issue. Dr. Bello, we have to once again go over some of the issues that clarify what breast cancer is all about. What are the predisposing factors to breast cancer?
So thank you very much. I think we have gone through this again and again, and I hope that time will not consume so much time on this, because I want to believe that this is a Cancer Awareness Month, and we should be talking about what we actually have and what we don't have and how to move forward. Having said that, we do know that cancer generally simply means an uncontrolled, development of cells. The cells become immortal and they continue to grow, and that's giving rise to cancer. They have the ability to invade other organs, and they also have the ability to spread. Breast cancer itself is the #1 killer, and we do know that it's a genetic disease. It also has a lot of risk factors. #1 is the most important risk factor is being a woman. So gender is the #1 thing. 1 out of 8 women will develop breast cancer in their lifetime. Okay, then age. The older you get, the more likely for you to develop breast cancer. And then, of course, you have family history. If your mother has had breast cancer, or your sister, any of your siblings, and so on, the chances of you developing breast cancer is also higher. Then, of course, you also have things like hereditary. If you have acquired a kind of mutation, what is called the BRCA gene, okay, BRCA1 or 2, your chances of developing breast cancer also becomes higher. In fact, if you recall, Angelina Jolie tested positive for a BRCA gene, and her risk increased to 60%, and because of that she had to go and do double mastectomy, remove both breasts, and reducing her risk to about 3%. There are so many other risk factors, you know, smoking, obesity, if you are so fat, you know, exposure to radiation. Some people tend to have radiation to, for one reason or the other, to the chest wall. That also increases their chance of developing breast cancer. So there are those that you can actually prevent. Some of these risk factors, there are those that you cannot change. You know, the ones you can change basically are related to dietary advices. You know, you don't want to be obese, you know, because the more fat you have, the more estrogen you produce, the more likely for you to develop breast cancer. If you are a smoker, chances are that you can also develop breast cancer. So it's something that you can actually stop. You know, you stop it, and within 2 years, your risk tends to drop. And alcohol consumption also has been implicated as one of the risk factors for developing breast cancer. So all those things are some of the risk factors that predispose to breast
These
cancer.
are the traditionally known risk factors.
Of course.
In the course of research, Dr. Bello, I discovered that they said research is now uncovering new trends in terms of the epidemiology of breast cancer, precisely with age, related to age and environment, and that there's a rise in premenopausal breast cancer, among women in particular ethnic, particular country, particular. So what's the
So there is a lot of research going on. Like I mentioned to you that a lot of the risk factors are not known. If you ask me what caused the breast cancer of Gloria here, I will not be able to tell you. So there are so many other risk factors that I have not even mentioned here. Hormonal, diethylstilbestrol that has been used in the past is a drug that can actually also predispose as a risk factor. I have not mentioned, hormones and so on, because I don't want to go into really greater details, taking all the time that we need to discuss other things. Research. Now, this is very critical. What we have not succeeded in doing in Nigeria and indeed in sub-Saharan Africa is to do research into our causative agents, into our treatments. Because most of the drugs that we actually used are drugs that have had clinical trial in the white people. When you look at most of the drugs, you see that the number of blacks that are involved in those clinical trials are so small. And so that's cut across epidemiology, treatment, and so on and so forth. We have not been able to start some form of real-time research into what exactly is causing or what exactly is making the prevalence go higher in our environment. We haven't done that. We just started a trial at the National Hospital. It's called the Heritage Study, where we take blood samples and we intend to look at the genetic makeup of most of these cancers to see if there are actionable mutations. I told you it's a genetic disease, so if there is a aberration in the gene, what is called the mutation, then we should be able to know what is particularly in our environment, because environment play a very important role, in the development of most of the cancers. So yes, research has to continue, but we haven't started because, you see, the National Cancer Institute that the president has signed since the December 2017 has not come to light. It's supposed to give a direction in terms of research and training of cancer in this country. So there are so many things that should be institutionalized for us to be able to say that, yes, we are beginning to get a headway. So as long as we don't do that, then the chances are that we will continue to have these end-stage cancers and we will not be able to handle them.
Dr. Bello, while we're still dealing with the predisposing factors, earlier you were talking about obesity. as one of likely factors to trigger breast cancer. Does the size of a woman's breast also predispose her to cancer? That's one. And secondly, does the bra have anything to do with cancer? Because I recall, was it sometime last year or so, there was a video that went viral on the social media. I don't know where they got the bra from, but there were all kinds of juices or so inside the breast, inside the bra. And the narrator was saying, oh, this is what is causing breast cancer in our people. But in general, therefore, my question would be, does the size of the breast matter in the likely development of breast cancer? Does a bra also predispose a woman to breast cancer?
So yes, the size of the breast actually can be a predisposing factor. You know, the bigger the breast, the more likely the person to develop breast cancer, for the simple reason that glandular breasts, you know, the size tend to persist if you don't breastfeed. So breastfeeding is a positive factor mitigating breast cancer. So it reduces breast cancer if you breastfeed your child, okay? So somebody that has not breastfed tend to have a normal large breast cancer. And the unchallenged effect of estrogen, which is the female hormone, is the real culprit for development of breast cancer, okay? So unchallenged, so the more you challenge the production of estrogen by breastfeeding. When you are breastfeeding, you know, you have more prolactin and then the estrogen is a little bit lower. So as a result, you have less chance of developing breast cancer. People that take hormones, you know, so that they can keep their breasts firm and so on and so forth can also develop more breast cancers, okay, and so on and so forth. So yes, that is absolutely one of the risk factors. The bigger, the more likely. But studies are going on, you know, just like you mentioned about the bra. We haven't done a real study to say that the effect of the bra can actually cause breast cancer. But persistent trauma to the breast, or any other organ for that matter, can actually predispose to cancer. Persistent trauma, okay? So if there is trauma that is actually, because some bras, I saw that they have some heavy metals there, you know, so that they can keep them, yes, sort of. I don't know. I've seen a couple of them.
So that
yes, to lift them. So they use some metals. I don't know. I have seen some, believe me. So if you are using those kind of bras, chances are that you will be causing a lot of trauma to that breast. And that may be the real reason. But this is where I said we need to be doing a lot of research, you know, to understand exactly what are the real causes and how to mitigate them.
We'll come back to you to tell us why this research is not happening, Dr. Bello, because that is the key to what we're saying. Because if we know how the thing, you know, is caused, we're able to make accurate diagnosis, you know, then we're getting somewhere. But Gloria, I mean, you are preaching to us, and every cancer champion is saying that there is life after cancer. And from your perspective...
Is it that there's life after cancer or there's life with cancer?
There's life with and after cancer.
Beautiful. So what are the enablers? What are the enablers for those who have survived it? What are the enablers?
You know, it's more like your disposition towards the situation you find yourself. People react differently and they have different perspectives about things, and that is what actually leads to whether the person is going to survive or not. A lot of persons, when they are through with their treatment, they are like, oh, I am free and I am not going to do follow-up. In fact, you're like, oh, it's something that it's off. But it shouldn't stop there. It's a journey, and you have to follow that journey. with the right frame of mind. The doctors will always give you 3 months appointment, 6 months appointment, annual appointment. It is very important as a champion that you follow through the appointments and do whatever the doctors tell you, and the nurses also. It is very important. And as I keep on saying, in Nigeria, or maybe this part of our world, I don't know, you get a lot of people telling you things which may mar your cancer treatment journey. Your family, it may be your spouse, it may be your friends, it may be your relatives. And when they tell you stories, you are even scared that you will even, some will tell you, look, you are through with this cancer treatment, forget about it. Don't go to hospital again. In fact, if you're going to hospital, you're trying God. They tell us that. We hear it every time. But it is not right, because there is a very high probability that it may come back. And if you're saying you are not going to go back to the hospital, how will you know when it comes back?
In terms of treatment and institutional support, what's the burden like for survivors?
It's terrible. Most of the pictures I'm presenting here are the pictures of those that are lucky. They have the money, they have the correct disposition, and they had their families giving them the full support, and they have the medical practitioners being on their duty post. Because you may start, and then when the hospital is on strike, it stops. And the cancer cells don't stop. It keeps on. So by the time the nurses or the doctors are coming back from strike, it is the other way. It has gone bad. So, it's so difficult retrieving what you have lost. So I think in the process of going through this, a lot of things come in. And as a champion, what I want the government to do, yes, first of all, I need to appreciate the government. The Cancer Health Fund is there. It was through lobbying by Health Federation of Nigeria and First Ladies, and then it was done. It is in the budget of 2020. But I have a problem, because we are in the end of October, and as we are speaking, not a dime has been disbursed, and cancer patients are dying. The fund is 720 million. It's meant for cervical cancer, breast cancer, and prostate cancer. And a lot of indigent patients are dying every day. Cancer cells don't wait for you. It keeps on consuming its host. There is no money. It's so expensive. Let's be realistic. I think the cheapest treatment, just a single course, is almost like 70,000. And you're supposed to take like 4, 6, 12, 18, depending on the type of cancer. So how does the average Nigerian afford this? It is almost impossible. But with this fund, it is supposed to at least take care of these patients that cannot afford it. And as we speak, 2020 is almost over. A dime has not been released. Nobody has gotten the treatment from that fund.
All right. Thank you very much, Gloria. We'll return to you. Let's bring in again Dr. Zena Bagudu. That's the wife of the Kebbi State Governor. Your Excellency, earlier you talked about a ramp up in the level of awareness amongst residents of Kebbi with regard to breast cancer, and the way they are now stepping forward to take advantage of facilities and other matters that are pertain to breast cancer. But I imagine that challenges persist. And so in the case of Kebbi, what are those challenges, institutional, social, or otherwise, towards getting on top of the breast cancer menace in the country?
Thank you for that reminder. Well, I think if we listen carefully through the program, Nigeria is a big country with a very homogeneous society. However, the problems are the same and similar. The awareness increasing does not easily translate into people seeking the appropriate health care, like my sister, Her Excellency Linda Ayadi, and the patients with any chronic illness mostly will not go first to seek medical attention until they have sought some other traditional way to heal it. That is one. I'm now finding a lot of middle-class people are rejecting chemotherapy. There are so many herbal and alternative treatments around from Indonesia, Malaysia, ST, this, that, and it's now being touted as a cheaper alternative. And when you look at the cost, it's really not that cheap. These are multivitamin, high-potent multivitamin things, and patients are resorting to them and rejecting chemotherapy. There's a huge campaign on about how toxic chemotherapy is to the body. So that is one, rejecting the treatment just due to psychosocial beliefs. Gloria also spoke about the costs. Yes, some people will not go because they cannot afford it. A huge chunk of the rural Nigerians treats anything, malaria, out of pocket. So how many can really afford cancer treatment starting from 70,000 naira? A round of chemotherapy in National Hospital is 600,000 naira. These are all very expensive things, and even the well-to-do will easily become incapacitated financially by the cost of treating cancer. The funds that the federal government and state governments are putting in place are meant to ease and to help us to access it better. But the key, in my own belief, is that we must find a way of improving our health insurance system so that the haves can put into a fund. When I say have, I don't mean just individuals. Yes, the individuals that are working, but also corporate bodies in a more structured way. We have the fund that she's spoken about. We have so many care service providers, the pharmaceutical companies. If they pool together into this fund or into our NHIS in a structured way, then we can try to start bringing down the costs of this treatment. And of course, availability or the dearth of the treatment comprehensive cancer centers, they're far and few. You might be living in Kebbi, and the closest even to monitor the illness is in Sokoto or ABU Zaria, or you have to go to Abuja, sometimes as far as Lagos, to get to the only functioning linear accelerator machines. There has been progress. We now have very well-functioning ones, unlike the last maybe 10 years when they were just start and stop, and it's not working today, tomorrow it's working. But now we have about 14, of which maybe we have 7 that are quite good, some in private sector, some in public sector by government. So we need to have more. For the size of our population, we need to have really a lot more linear accelerator machines around or to treat our patients with radiotherapy. So access to care, access to the facilities is one. State governments are doing their best. In Kebbi, we now have a costed cancer control plan. There are initiatives with the federal government and partners, development partners, funding partners that will help to access chemotherapy. We have one of that going on in Kebbi as well. It hasn't actually started, but it's going to start in the Federal Medical Center. These are all federal government initiatives. It's called the Chemotherapy Access Program. And so all these things that we've come some step forward, but there's still a long way to go. And I understand the frustration in Gloria's voice that why should we keep this huge amount of money? But like I said, it's taken a lot. This has been a very difficult year, 2020. We had the unexpected COVID-19. I'm not making excuses for the government, but spending had to be diverted to that source. However, we are now at a stage whereby these funds will be released and it will get to the patients. But the modalities for how it's going to be spent has to be worked out properly. It's not a huge amount if you look at it. If you sit down and you do the maths properly and you want to cover 3 cancers for all the Nigerians that have cancer, 30 million is not an enormous amount. So we need more funding. We need more partners to come in and put money into that pool so that we can help our patients better.
Thank you, Your Excellency, the Kebbi State First Lady. Let's bring in Dr. Amina Bakar Bello, First Lady in Niger State. And I like for us to look at the approach. Many of First Ladies, have foundations that are really providing some form of support to, breast cancer awareness and, of course, support for survivors. There's also the challenge most of you have also raised about lack of chemo centers, and facilities to also manage the end-stage patients and all that. But we don't even want it to get to that stage, and that's the essence of awareness. Do you think that daily work, because I know that's most times that's what we do, are we having the right approach to the fundamental level of prevention? Do you think there's a need for innovative ways of, carrying out our awareness campaigns?
Yes, I think that's a very good question. The thing about prevention is that it's a very important aspect of cancer care and cancer services. 1/3 of all cancers can be prevented, even though you have 2/3 that that would occur. But that 1/3 is a significant number, and preventing it is a huge would be a huge improvement, and the burden on the society will be very low. Now, the issue of prevention here in Nigeria, it's not very, very strong. The concentration is mostly on the treatment aspect of it. Although now with the cancer control plan that the federal government has instituted, and then the cancer control plan that some of the states have come up with, you have in the plan prevention strategies. And prevention is in 3 forms. You have the primary prevention, the secondary prevention, and the tertiary prevention. Now, the primary prevention, which is the aspect that I think that we're lacking in, this is the one where you prevent the cancer before it occurs. So basically, instituting measures that will stop the cancer from occurring. Secondary prevention is the one that we actually practice more in this country, which is detecting the disease early when it has occurred, and then preventing it from going further than it has already gone. And this is where you do the mammograms, screening exercises, the breast cancer, the clinical and self-breast examination. You do the cervical cancer screening, for example. That is the secondary prevention, as well as the treatment, such as chemotherapy and so on, and surgery that you will do when the disease has already occurred. The tertiary prevention goes to the rehabilitation stage. Now, for the primary prevention, basically, what is involved in the prevention is making sure that all the risk factors that are associated with cancer in any form or another is actually prevented. This includes people having good lifestyle. Dr. Bello had mentioned some of the risk factors, such as obesity, smoking, lack of physical exercises, and then, of course, some dietary habits. Primary prevention involves actually seeing how people can prevent cancer by changing their lifestyle in such a way that all these things that I've mentioned are prevented. You have countries like Turkey, for example, that have banned smoking publicly. So smoking, which is a very significant risk factors for cancer, including breast cancer, can prevent 1/3 of those cancers from happening if smoking is stopped. Although here in Nigeria, we don't have a rule that talks about stopping smoking in public places, but that is one thing that can be looked at. So the government needs to come up with policies that will ensure those kind of things are put in place. That's one. You have places like the UK that have policies regarding exercise. When you go to the advanced world, exercise is a big deal for them. If you go to somewhere like London, for example, you have the lanes that have, you have lanes for bicycle, you have lanes for cars, and you have rules specifically relating to how motorists and cyclists should use the road. All that is aimed at ensuring that the populace does regular exercising by walking and by cycling, which have been proved to improve and reduce non-communicable diseases such as heart disease and cancer from occurring. So Nigeria needs to look at something like that to institute. If you have the whole populace living a healthy lifestyle through exercising, you would prevent cancers. Another one is with regard to food. You have a lot of processed foods that are associated with cancer. So if you have rules regarding the kind of food that is allowed for the populace to eat, ensuring that the food that is grown and harvested in Nigeria is free of toxins and preservatives, you are able to prevent non-communicable diseases from happening. So those are the kind of measures that prevention, primary prevention specifically, is required. So in terms of where we are in Nigeria, we don't have all those policies in place. So this is something that we all need to look into as a country to see that it is provided for the populace, and then you are able to say, yes, we're doing something towards prevention of cancer. So these are some of the ways that are tried and tested. We are not currently doing it, but we need to do it. Then with obesity, for example, apart from encouraging exercises, you would, for example, now a lot of us in Nigeria now, why we are having a lot of increased cases of cancer is because we have changed our dietary habits. We used to have, when we look at the way our ancestors, our older parents are, they are healthier than us because they were eating very good food that are not processed. But because we're eating a lot of processed foods now, that has increased our risk for cancer. So those are the kind of things that needs to be looked at and implemented to be able to prevent cancers from occurring.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, Dr. Amina Abubakar Bello. Just before we go on this short break, amongst the points you made, you said as an obiter that there appears to be no rule against smoking in public in Nigeria. There is indeed a law that prohibits smoking in public places in Nigeria. That law was promulgated during the military regime. I think it was General Babangida at the time. Olukoya Ransom Kuti was the Honorable Minister of Health. You're watching Good Morning Nigeria live on the network service of the NTA. We're taking a short break now. When we return, we'll continue with the conversation. All right, welcome back, and it's still Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. Let's return to Her Excellency, the First Lady of Cross River, Dr. Linda Ben-Ayade. Dr. Linda, I imagine you heard what your sister First Lady of Niger was talking about in terms of prevention, primary, secondary, and therefore tertiary, and what needs to be done. How much of this, in terms of preventive measures, form part of your awareness campaign, say, in Cross River, and how much reception is there to it? I mean, when you tell people to exercise, sometimes it's like you are sending them on punishment. When you tell them to choose their diet, it's like, oh, what exactly do you mean? Can we begin to see a climb up in some of these preventive measures that obviously will ensure that the cases don't multiply or get too scary by the time they are presenting at the clinic?
Can you hear me? I did not get the question, please.
Okay, let me restate my question. I presume that you heard what the First Lady of Niger State was talking about in enumerating preventive measures as primary, secondary, and tertiary. And I'm saying, how much of those preventive measures form part of the content of your awareness campaigns, say in Cross River, and therefore also what is the reception of your audience to the messaging with regard to preventive measures?
Okay, thank you. I get to know. Thank you. Yes. Dealing with humans is actually a daunting factor. But we don't give up. I learned in this business that you just keep pushing and pushing and pushing. From what my sister, Dr. Amina, was saying, we really have a big problem in this country about sedentary lives. There's no deliberate effort to keep people active. And sadly, the way the environment is, the way our society is, you see, you just drive your car from one point to the next point, you park just by the door, you come out, you just go in there. In advanced societies like in the UK, where she mentioned, you see that sometimes you can't find a parking space close to where, I don't know whether it's deliberate or it's just by chance, but it just helps them. You have to park your car somewhere and you have to walk a distance to get to your destination. All of that just adds up. There's a lot of sedentary lives in Nigeria today, I'm afraid to say, because people are not active. People don't get up deliberately to get themselves active. I see a lot of exercise activities. I see a lot of groups, they come together trying to keep themselves active. Yes, that's just a little percentage out of so many. So many people out there, they don't make deliberate efforts to keep themselves active. I'm talking about the primary prevention now, which to me is the most important. You know, coming from a public health perspective, that is the major thing. They say an apple a day keeps the doctor away. They say prevention is better than cure. There are all of these sayings. But we have to make deliberate efforts to do this. From my perspective, what I do, like I told you, I have a group called Crossover Women Emancipation Initiative. I have tried over the years, tried to lure them out, that they should come out and do exercise, even if it is just once a week. Once a week on Saturday mornings, try and come out as a group, you know, and see that you just get yourself active, walk around. In fact, I got a coach for them to just see that I spur them up to do this. Now, initially, you know, they start enthusiastically from the beginning, and before you know it, one after the other, they are dropping, okay, somebody has somewhere to go, this, that. So we just need to find a way to sustain this. We need to find a way to not just sustain, to escalate it. I think it should be part of the awareness campaign, which, like in this October, for instance, we were doing a breast cancer awareness campaign, asking women to come out, especially if you think you have some suspicious lesions or lumps in your breast, try and come out, or if you there's something about you are not feeling okay with, use this opportunity and come out so that experts can check you and know if you stand a chance of breast cancer or something. So I think that we have to begin to arrange it in such a way, which is what my plan is. I'm saying this because I'm planning to begin to put more force, to put more words, to heighten the advocacy for that primary prevention. Look, like I told you, we went to the rural areas in this October. I decided that I will leave the regular using only media and just staying in the state capital, go to the rural areas and try to reach the women. And it has revealed a lot of things to me. And let me use one of the senatorial districts, for instance, the Southern Senatorial District in Cross River State. Out of the local governments that we did, I told you that one of the local governments, which is Calabar South, is the one that we had 998 women come out just to have clinical breast examination. In another local government, Calabar Municipality, 45 women came out. In Akpabuyo, 233 women came out. In Bakassi, only 55 women came out. But here are the numbers of the findings. In all the other 3 local governments I've mentioned, we had three suspicious lesions. But in one of the local governments, which is Bakassi, that had only 55 women come out, we had 10 women with breast lesions. By visual examination only, clinical examination, you know that this is a classical case of breast cancer. But how? We had, in Calabar South, we had 998 women come out, and there were only 3 women with lesions. But in Bakassi, that 55 women came out, we had 10. Okay, what is the setting? Calabar South is more of the environment. I mean, like Dr. Bello was saying, I think that environment plays a big role. So we need to really emphasize on research, and then research will now help us to know where to put our emphasis on. I'm asking myself, why is it that we have 10 women out of 55 with breast lesions in Bakassi local government only? Bakassi, you all know where Bakassi is riverine. Mostly, in fact, you have to cross the river to get to Bakassi. They live, it's a riverine area. They are fishermen and women. Mostly their occupation is on just around fishing and trading. So there must be a link. There must be something that is triggering this around that area, which is making them come up with these lesions more. So how can we find this out? It's only through research. So we need to channel more energy towards research. That primary prevention, I will just hammer on it. Primary prevention is very, very important. And then it will reduce all the burden of costs and spending on breast cancer eventually. And it is the cheapest form of medicine, in fact, if you ask me. It's the cheapest form. So why don't we put more emphasis on that? So I think that on my own, through my own efforts, I would put more emphasis in that primary prevention in crossover states. With my findings now, it will help me to plan better. But you know, research is very capital intensive. It's something that we have to have the government pull in. We need to pull the government in so that we can have a better system. These things are not rocket science. These things are not too expensive. It's just to have the willpower to do it. Why don't we do it? We should be able to do that. Like you were saying, we have the Cancer Health Fund. Why are the people not benefiting yet? We have been pushing, like my sisters and I in our group, we have been trying to push and push and push. We need these funds. Like I said, I have these women now. I'm not somebody that wants to bring people out and then leave them halfway. I would rather not start, which is what was keeping me behind before. But somehow I said, no, it's good to do something. Just come out and be doing something. And now these women that I have here now, I see them as my responsibility because I'm the one who has gone to pull them out to say, oh, come for check. And now I tell you, oh, you have this. And then I just sit back and watch you know. And then I cannot on my own, my foundation cannot handle it on its own like that. We have partners in the States. We partnered with Bison, you know, the Breast Imaging Society of Nigeria, Calabar chapter. They are the ones that are helping us with the imaging bit of it. They're giving it at a very subsidized rate. I am trying very hard with the Ministry of Health to see that they kind of bring out a cancer fund so that at least we can assist these women. And you see, these diseases, when they come, they don't choose. You see, they happen to the worst, the poorest of the poor. People who cannot even afford a meal, 3 square meals, are the ones who now have to cough out 70,000 naira or so for a round of chemotherapy. They don't have it. They don't have it. So, you know, the psychological effect is even more than the disease itself. Some of them just die because of that feeling alone. So that is one area that I think we really need to look at. That is one area that I will encourage everybody, encourage the government, and encourage all advocacy groups that, look, we have to champion our effort towards something that will yield us results that we can hang on to. That is...
Thank you, Dr. Linda. My question is to all the First Ladies, and I want to move away from the level of prevention. I know that you've all done quite a lot in terms of engendering awareness. You embark on road walks and all that, and then you've also told us, of course, that awareness is increasing. But what about those who have come with early stage breast cancer? What of those who are living with end stage cancer? These are people who also be requiring treatment. So how are all the First Ladies using your NGOs? And maybe Dr. Bagudi should take this because you're a board member of the UICC. You should start off from this. How are you, leveraging your NGOs, your positions to also, escalate treatment, access to treatment, better chemo centers, better mammo centers, and affordable also for women?
Yes, thank you. The work that we do is constantly aiming to do this. When we have road walks, the first thing is, Yes, we're creating awareness. That is the first thing that most people see. And we're also exercising. But underneath all that is fundraising. Most of our activities have an underlying fundraising in them. And it always helps us to pull together partners and corporate bodies to give to a pool. Like you rightly said, we all run individual non-governmental organizations, but we have come together as a strong group and as a coalition. And I find that, and I'm sure everyone will agree with me, when you come together as a group, you tend to have more effect and more impact in different ways, whether it is fundraising, whether it is awareness, whether it is getting better, your message across better, as we're all sitting across now. People on this program now, people will be more interested if it's just other than it's just one of us, you know. Oh, there are 3 governors' wives. Her Excellency Ayade spoke about 900 people turning up at a screening. It's because she's the person organizing it. Whether we like it or not, the wives of governors, constitutional, non-constitutional, it is still a fact that when you organize an outreach, more people will turn up in the hope that they will be able to get something out of it. Their aims might be different, but mostly you find even non-cancer cases turning up at these screenings that we have. Once you don't even need to announce it properly on the radio. You will get thousands turning up. And then your ability to access funding for those patients is also that notch and that step better than the other NGO. Now, I must emphasize that the other very important impacts that we have as a group together is influencing policy. We've heard about the Health Fund, we've heard about the NHIS, and there's so many other policies that we can influence in our own individual states. I cannot count. I have no record, and I do it deliberately because this is not my NGO. It is not my work. I don't have a record of how many patients I have been able to assist and advocate to get funding for their cancer care, not just in Kebbi State, but around the country. My sisters know me. If a patient turns up in Cross River and I've given her some funding that our foundation can afford, by the time she comes back for her next treatment, I'm going to my sister, the wife of the governor, and she should find a way of talking to their ministry and her husband and the health management board on how to fund these patients. And thank God they all they rise up to the occasion. So this is an opportunity and a platform that we have, and I think we used it quite admirably to help patients.
All right, I just wondering, Claire, you said the question will go to all the first ladies.
Yes, maybe Dr. Amina Bello should also take it up, because Dr. Bello here has been very emphatic about the issue of treatment and access, which again is not there. You know, most of our hospitals don't even have, you know, the facilities to diagnose or even to carry out, to provide adequate care, you know, for post-cancer patients. So what are the first ladies doing in this regard to also help?
Well, like Her Excellency Kebbi had mentioned, within our own individual NGOs, we do some kind of support for patients. Now, if, for example, in my own foundation, we not just only screen the patients, but we help with the patient navigation through the process, through the health system. For example, in this month of October, within the first week alone, when we started screening, we got 20 women who had lumps. Now, if you find a woman who has a lump, the next thing you need to do is to investigate and find out what kind of lump it is. Is it cancerous or is it benign? And then if it is cancerous, what is the next step? So we have a system where we have a federal medical center in Bida, where all our patients get treated for chemotherapy and for surgery. And from there, when they need radiotherapy, we refer them to the National Hospital in Abuja, or depending on if it is somewhere they can go to in ABU Zaria or in Sokoto, depending on what kind of cancer it is. So what we do with these patients is we are the ones that help them navigate, because we understand the issue about even getting the appointment early. So we have the connection with all the doctors in each of these centers. So our patients are able to get access to these services without having too much stress or delays. Now, in terms of what the FLAC is doing, we mostly work on advocacy, on policy formulation, as well as sensitization messages, but then we also work on fundraising to see that our patients, the patients that we do get as a group, are able to access these funds. So, as a group, we're all in different states. So it's not as if FLAC has patients, no, but the patients are in the individual states. So within the group itself, we pool the resources that we have together and then see how we are able to help the patients financially with the funds that we have raised. Not only about funding the patients, we also go the extra mile of seeing how we can help the facilities that are also providing those cancer care services. Yes, you have facilities that provide cancer care, but a lot of them are also lacking some basic facilities that they require. So, for example, now in the Gwagwalada Teaching Hospital, they treat cancer patients, but they do not have a functioning oncology ward. So, what FLAC has done in commemoration of this October, of this Breast Cancer Awareness Month, is to actually renovate and create an oncology ward for the patients in the Gwagwalada Teaching Hospital. This gives two advantages. You now have patients coming for their chemotherapy in a comfortable and clean environment, which will be so much better for them in their situation. And you have provided a conducive atmosphere for the health workers to work in, and also have provided essential hospital equipment that they would require. So in terms of what we do as a group, we pull our resources together and the funding that we have gotten to help with patients funding their treatment, and also provide some self-services in some instances for the facilities that do provide cancer services. Right. I must say it's not easy, but like Her Excellency Kepi said, because we are a lot, we are able to, each and every one of us, bring the partners that we have within our own states to come together to provide the same thing for FLAC. And then we're able to raise some money that will go to.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Amina, First Lady of Niger State. I just want to bring in Dr. Bello again, because we're getting pressed for time now. Dr. Bello, earlier you raised the issue of research, and that point was amplified by Dr. Linda, First Lady of Cross River. I've been looking, for instance, at the cases presenting in and around the Bakassi area. Who should champion research? What would you like to see also in terms of availability of funding for research? I know you had always talked about the inadequacy of the number of cancer experts in the country. Are we anywhere now on the path to ensuring that we're getting more experts trained? And what facilities are there? I mean, just say there's been an upgrade, for instance, at the Gwagwalada Teaching Hospital. Well, elsewhere in the country, are we up to scratch?
So, thank you very much, Kingsley. You have asked many questions, all in one. The research, who is supposed to fund it. I think it's going to be, the answer is there are so many organizations in this country that are already funding research. But there are no concerted effort to look at cancer as a group of diseases that we really need to hammer on. In other words, if I give you every cancer drug that you see that is being used has to go through a process of clinical trial. And those clinical trials are mostly done elsewhere, not in this country. Take, for instance, there is a drug for prostate cancer, for example. And I look at it, we have one of the highest prevalence of prostate cancer in the world. But all the clinical trials that were done to validate those drugs did not include a single black man, not only an African, or in Africa or in Nigeria. So government must make fund available for research for cancer, whether it is in terms of epidemiological research, or it is in terms of treatment, or in terms of prevention, and so on and so forth. So it's government that must spearhead it. And of course, we have philanthropists, non-governmental organizations, and even researchers must be able to source funding. You will be surprised that there is a lot of research grants out there that we are unable to access because simply we are overwhelmed with work. You must do. If I give you an example of my day at the National Hospital, it's literally crazy. Because you have 7 consultants, 7 residents, and 1/3 of the hospitals are cancer patients. We don't even have enough doctors to man them. And you do radiation, you do chemotherapy, you do ward rounds, you do clinics, you do all sorts of things. So you don't even have time for research. But research is fundamental, and as long as we don't do research, we are not going to get it right.
Okay. So the other aspect about experts is training ongoing now?
So about a couple of months ago, just around when the pandemic started, we had a virtual meeting with some experts, Nigerians in the diaspora. And you will be surprised that over 200 of them participated with the National University Commission and my organization, IOTIC. And all the 200 Nigerians that participated in that virtual meeting are researchers. And they are ready to come, and they've been doing 1 or 2 other things. So we need an umbrella that will bring them back to Nigeria so that they can continue the kind of research they are doing out there. We have people outside. We have more oncologists outside Nigerian oncologists that are practicing outside Nigeria because the enabling environment here is precarious, is daunting, is unbelievable that, when they look at us, they are like, you are superheroes. How do you do this? This is the honest truth. Nigeria has about 70 clinical oncologists as it were today. We need nothing less than 3,000. Our radiation facilities, Her Excellency was talking about 14. I wish we have 14. But we need at least 200 based on World Health Organization. So we are not even near anything. Okay? So we really need to sit down and get a proper fund, institutionalize it, because institutionalization is very critical. As long as you don't institutionalize all these things that they are doing, the first ladies against breast cancer, once they are no longer there, nothing happens. So it must be institutionalized.
Thank you, Dr. Bello. Dr. Linda Ayade, I would appreciate it, Your Excellency, if you can respond to my question in maybe less than 60 seconds. I hope you'll be able to do that. Breast cancer, and indeed all cancers, both at the federal and maybe state level, have not been properly mainstreamed in the healthcare system. You heard Dr. Bello here talk about the need for oncologists, radiologists, and all that. Are you first ladies pushing your husbands enough, to come up with policies in this regard?
Thank you. Thank you. I actually do push them, but I think I push more the Ministry of Health. If you speak with the commissioner, she's always under heat from me, because that's where the policies should emanate from anyway, not directly from the governor. So I push them, and then I help them on this side to get approval. That's what I do. I make a lot of suggestions to them. I tell them that this is the way to go. And most times, it turns out like, okay, yeah, they see reasons with me and they don't even hesitate. So I do my very best to see that we get some policies. We are just far behind, The problem we have is it's not just to have a policy, it's to have a workable policy. Policy on paper is different from policy in action. We need policies in action. In fact, this country has a lot of policies, good policies, but we don't see the results. Why is that? a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of human factor, a lot of, I mean, if you begin to go into that, it's so much. So I just want to plead with Nigerians at this point. I said, please, wherever you find yourself, whatever small space you find yourself, please, can you just make it work? Can you just do what you are meant to do? Try to push things forward. I say this with pain because I know what happens in the civil service. When you are even trying to promulgate a policy, you see how they frustrate it, first and foremost, not to talk of the implementation of it. We need to go past the level we are now. We need to look around and this is us. This is Nigeria. It's all about us. It's nobody else. And we have to make things work for ourselves. It's everybody's hand on the plow. It's not just government or the health personnel. No, we have to put our hands together. Everybody has to do their little bits.
All right. Your Excellency, Dr. Linda Ben-Ayade of Cross River, I would like to thank you. I just want to throw this in as part of the advocacy issue, because in terms of prevention, you talked about primary, secondary, and tertiary, and avoiding a sedentary lifestyle was also emphasized by the First Ladies, and I'm sure Dr. Bello also agrees. I was just wondering how we can overcome some of the social hindrances to just minimal exercise, such as walking, for instance. I'm not being sexist here. You were citing the examples of the UK where you need to park your vehicle at some distance and then you take a walk. All right, pedestrian walkway is there, and the ladies are wearing flats. But here, you will find a lady will wear her high heels, layers, what we used to call layers or stiletto. You can't walk very far with those stilettos, and you know, they say that you use it to make younger. Secondly, by the time she's leaving the house, she's already well made up. So how do you expect her to walk when the sweat will be streaming down? She said the sun is too much. In the meantime, sun will also give you vitamin D. But he says, no, just wait. Take me to the nearest point there. And then it continues. How do we overcome all of this? That's just an open question that I believe can be considered later.
Yes, just your last word. What would you want to see in... Okay, sorry. We can't take any more from you, Gloria. I know you have always made your point. So let me quickly appreciate you, starting from you, Gloria OJ, President, Abuja Breast Cancer Support Group, and a breast cancer survivor. I'd like to appreciate you. Also appreciating, of course, Dr. Bakr Bello Mohammed, President, African Organization for Research and Training in Cancer, also Chief Consultant, Clinical Oncologist, National Hospital, Abuja. Your Excellency, Cross River State First Lady, Dr. Linda Ben-Ayade, we'd like to thank you, and of course, founder, Mediatrix Development Foundation. Many thanks to you for joining us. Her Excellency, Dr. Amina Abubakar Bello, founder, Raise Foundation, and wife of Niger State Government. We appreciate you, Your Excellency. Thank you. And last but certainly not the least, we have Dr. Zainab Shinkafi Bagudu, founder and Chief Executive Officer, Medicaid Cancer Foundation, and wife of Kebbi State Governor. Your Excellency, a very big thank you for making this happen. And from all of you who have watched, who have sent in your tweets, we appreciate you, and we do hope that you have learned one or two things from our program today. Don't forget, you can always be a star. We are all stars here in NTA. Simply stand with us, stand against rape and rapists. From me, it's bye-bye.
All right, thank you for being with us. Good Morning Nigeria returns on Monday, same time, 7 o'clock in the morning. Have a lovely weekend. I'm Kingsley Osadolo.